And so he got in his boat in Zimbabwe and he started across the ocean. And as he was going along, he got in a big storm, and all of a sudden, out of the water jumped a great big fish named
Water guy.
what?
A water guy.
Water guy. Water guy jumped onto the boat, and he ate all Professor Wombog's food, and he jumped off. So Professor Wombog was without any food, and he kept going and he kept going, and he needed some food. So he threw out his fishing line, and something grabbed hold of it. He started bringing it in. It brought it in, and when he got it up on the shore, it looked like a
banana.
It looked like a banana, but it was a fish banana. Come and sit down. Sit down. You gotta sit and watch. You gotta sit still and watch.
Okay.
Sit still.
Okay. Sit down.
And you gotta watch me. So sit up.
Look at him.
So this fish that looked like a banana was really a big fish banana, and its name was Zuko. So Zuko the banana fish was wiggling around, so Professor Wombog got a bat and smacked it in the head. And so from then on, he had plenty of banana fish named Zuko to eat. And so he kept going and he kept going, and he came to an island. And he got off the island, and he took his trusty
Gary grappling hook.
what?
Gary grappling hook.
Grappling hook. And he started wandering through the trees. And he started going along. And all of a sudden he heard a noise, and it sounded like
a long fart. Can you tell I hang out with the middle schooler every day?
it sounded like
A squashed frog.
a squashed frog. Correct. And he went around the corner, and there it was, sure enough, a squashed frog. But it wasn't an ordinary squashed frog. It had little horns coming out like this, and it had little wings like this, and it was kind of funny looking, but it was dead. So he kept going with his hook, his grappling hook, and he kept going, and it came to a mountain. So he threw the grappling hook clear up on top, started climbing, and about halfway up, he heard this squawking, and he looked around, and all of a sudden, coming flying toward him was a
chicken nugget.
a chicken nugget. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
A chicken nugget. And that chicken nugget had the words Kentucky Fried Chicken right across his forehead. And he flew right up to Professor Wombog, and Professor Wombog opened his mouth to go, ah, and it flew right into his mouth, and he ate it. So he kept climbing, got up to the top, and as he was reaching up, another hand reached over and grabbed his, and when he looked up, it was a
banana.
Another
no,
banana?
we already had a banana.
A pickle.
It was a
cheese.
A cheese with hands. And this cheese also had feathers, and he could fly, and he had a beak like this, and he had a big mouth. And when he opened his mouth, his teeth looked like cheese. And he couldn't chew very good because his teeth were real soft like cheese. And he said, "Well, come on up, Professor Wombog. Come and go with me." And he got up on top, and he said, "What are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for some Zimperumpa-zoos." And he said, "Well, I don't know about that, but you can come with me, and I'll go with you, and we'll look for them." So they started going along through the trees, and they decided to have a little picnic. So Mr. Cheese had a basket, and inside the basket there was some really good things to eat. There was some
cheeseburgers
and
Some
peanuts and
deep fried French fries.
and
Nuggets.
He's already had nuggets. What else could he have in there?
You could have pickles. Oh yeah, pickles.
Okay. So they sat down, they started eating, and they were eating along, and all of a sudden, Mr. Cheese started coughing and hacking, and he couldn't breathe. So Professor Wambach grabbed him around the waist, and he gave him the Heimlich maneuver, and out popped a big old cheeseburger.
It should have been a pickle.
No, he popped out a cheeseburger. So Mr. Cheese was just very thankful, and he said, "Thank you,
Wait,
Professor."
cheeseburger? He ate his own kind.
Ooh.
Yeah,
He ate
it's
his inside.
Yeah, so anyway, so that he left and he came around, he was still going along, and he got kind of tired, and so he wished he had something to ride. And so as he was going along, he came around behind this tree, and there stood this great big
Lawnmower.
lawnmower. He thought, I can ride this lawnmower. So he started the lawnmower and he jumped on, and he was going down through the brush and through the trees, and he went over a cliff and went clear down to the beach, landed on the beach right next to his boat, got back in his boat, and started sailing again. And he kept going and going, and finally he went back to Zimbabwe. And when he got back to Zimbabwe, where he lived, he was tired. So he started walking home, and as he was walking along, he wasn't paying attention, and he fell into a hole. And he got down this big hole, and when he got to the bottom, he looked around, and it was a cave. It was a great big cave. And he looked around, and hanging from the ceiling were a bunch of
Krongos.
what?
Yeah, Krongos. Wait, can I go this?
Krongos. And beside theirs, there was hanging some
signs that read help.
some signs that read help. How helpful was that? And but the Krongons up above, when they saw him, they started making this weird sound. It sounded like
Fart noise. Actually,
we already did that.
No.
Sounded like what? Make a noise.
Caw-caw.
Yeah, caca, caca. Look up here, they said. And he looked up and splat right on top of his head. It was crackoon poop. and he got it out of his face, and he got out of there real quick and kept going through this cave, and pretty soon he came to a river that was running through the cave, and there was a boat. So he got in the boat, and as he got in the boat, he started paddling, but it was dark and kind of spooky. And as he was going along, he heard another noise that sounded like
Ow!
"Ow!" And sure enough, it was the poodles of the Serengeti. The poodles, the famous, and they had long teeth like this, and they had claws like this. These poodles of the Serengeti, and so he went as fast as he could past the poodles because they were dangerous. They would eat him. So he got past the poodles of the Serengeti, and he finally came out of the mountain, and there he was, almost to his house. And so he went into his house finally, and he was tired because he'd been looking for the Zimperumpazoos all this time. And he fell fast asleep, and while he was asleep, out from the corners of the house came the Zimperumpazoos. So he'd gone all that way, and the Zimperumpazoos were right there in his house. The end.